I'm Steven, and I'm a level 1 chef.
I'm Rinku, and I'm a level 2 chef.
I'm Danielle Alex, creator of Diversity Kitchen, and I've been a professional chef for 15 years.
This recipe was developed over the weekend. I tried it on my girlfriend actually, so I'm wishing her a speedy recovery. I'm joking, she survived.
The biryani I'm making today is called kachi biryani. Kachi means raw, so the rice and the shrimp cook together. They aren't pre-cooked before we start.
I wanted to take a lot of the traditional components and elements of making biryani. However, I'm using freekeh grain instead of basmati.
The first step of making biryani is the rice. We're gonna take basmati rice, put it in the colander, take your 8 cups of water. This is how much you're supposed to drink in a day. Wash it off. Oh yeah, that's nice.
Soak the rice to loosen some of the starch.
This seems right.
This makes the rice more fluffy. Let it soak for at least 30 minutes.
Freekeh grain, it kind of has like a green hue, kind of got like a smoky flavor, and it's a great source of fiber.
The water's boiling. I add salt to the water. Add your rice like so. And then you mix it up. I'm gonna give it 10 minutes and then I'm gonna come back and see where it is. We left it on for 15 minutes. Drain the rice before it gets all mushy. Next time we're gonna use a rice cooker. Let's make everybody's life easier. No water weight. And here is my rice. Now I'm gonna prep the rest of the ingredients.
We're gonna start with the lamb prep. I'm gonna cut it up into 2-inch cubes. And I'm gonna put this in my bowl.
I will start making the marinade for the shrimp. Garlic.
Break off a piece of ginger.
Ginger.
I'm using the side of the spoon. Take the skin off.
You don't need to peel it.
And I love using a microplane because it gets it nice and fine.
So fennel seeds, coriander seeds. Grind these first. It's smelling nice already. So nutmeg goes in, cayenne pepper, mace. It's my mother's Bengali garam masala, cardamom, cloves, and cinnamon.
And then my yogurt. Not Greek yogurt, just a plain unsweetened yogurt. It starts to tenderize the meat already.
A little bit of salt. The shrimp has been shelled and deveined. It's very important. The shrimp goes in. I am covering it and...
Ideally, I would leave this overnight and just really let this kind of marinate.
letting it rest for about an hour.
You know, a few hours is good too.
Bye-bye shrimp.
Now we're gonna go ahead and start prepping our vegetables.
We take the
Potatoes?
We're attempting to cut 1-inch cubes. Could we do it? I don't know. Life's crazy sometimes. Doesn't work out.
Do you like the skins on?
I do not like the skins on. So, I missed a step. I forgot to peel the potatoes before I cut them, but we will survive.
Do you need to peel the potato? It just makes for a nicer and smoother texture. You're not gonna have a soggy skin that's kind of half falling off.
I like to use these smaller baby potatoes because I can leave them whole. They look nicer, I think, in the rice. And it's less work for me.
Then we just hold those in the water so they don't brown.
Now the tomato. Is there any skin I should peel on this before I move any further? I'm gonna make this into cubes. Now we're gonna work with the ginger. Oh, now you wanna use the potato peeler. I hear your judgment, and I acknowledge it, and I deserve it. Then I'm gonna grate it. I think this is enough. My biceps say this is enough. Garlic, smash it. Take off the skin.
I'll do the onions.
Even though it's gonna make me cry. Time for some catharsis.
I can already feel these onions are strong. So as you can see, I want to do them nice and thin. Might need a makeup retouch.
The onions are all done.
We're gonna peel the carrots.
The reason I'm cutting it like this is because I think it's pretty. Did I peel the carrots? Huh. You know what? Do I need to peel the peas? Okay, so now we have everything ready to go. So now we can start cooking.
I'm gonna place some ghee into my pot. Add garam masala, chili powder, clove, star anise, Indian bay leaf, cumin seeds, cinnamon stick, cardamom pods. Turn this down a touch and add ginger garlic paste. Oh yeah, it smells great. Then I'm gonna add my lamb, a touch of salt, black pepper. So I'm just gonna give this a little toss. Gonna add half an onion there, add water. And then I'm gonna add my rose water and screw pine water. I'm gonna go ahead and let this simmer for about an hour until the lamb is nice and tender.
First, we're gonna start with our vegetable oil.
You want to get the oil to a nice friable temperature.
Gonna take my ghee.
Add our butter. Move this around. And then we're gonna add our onions. Yeah, that's what you wanna hear. You wanna hear that sizzle.
The temperature is friable when you're seeing a lot of good bubbles around the onion. I'll actually do this in 2 batches.
To make sure that you're using a lower heat.
So we fry the onions for about 10 minutes. I am putting it on paper towels to allow the excess oil to drain out.
Set them aside.
Batch 2,
And here are my caramelized onions.
little bit of salt,
Now I'm gonna par cook my potatoes. And I'm gonna put them in some water. I'm gonna add my turmeric to the pot with a nice pinch of salt.
Get these onions sweating. Some extra vegetable oil.
If you mix turmeric with cayenne pepper, you get this very nice deep orange color, but turmeric happens to be very good for you, so it's a bonus.
Okay, so it's come to a boil, so I'm gonna turn this down to a simmer, a gentle bubble.
Add in the potatoes, giving the potatoes a quick sear that locks the spices around them.
I'm not cooking them all the way through because they're gonna finish cooking once I assemble the biryani.
Here are my potatoes.
Now I'm gonna make my saffron milk.
So to get the color out of the saffron, I steep it in some milk.
I'm gonna add my rose water first, screw pine water, and then my saffron. And just give it a nice little stir.
And you sit there.
We can move on to our frika. I'm gonna use part of this wonderful broth that's very flavorful to par cook our frika. And I like to just double strain this through the cheesecloth and through a finer sieve. And there, we can pick out our cinnamon stick. We'll pick out our star anise, our onion.
I'm draining out the water from the soaked rice.
Sometimes some skin gets in the game.
Now I'm gonna measure out a little bit of the lamb broth with water to par cook our frika. And there we go, it has great color. I'm gonna add my water, and I like to add a touch of lemon because it just brightens it up a little. Teaspoon. Bay leaf, clove, cardamom. Sometimes, too, you can just open them up, give them a little smash, and release some of that pinch of salt. Add my frika. We're only par cooking this, right? The frika has now come to a boil, so I'm just gonna reduce it to a simmer and let it simmer for about 5 to 8 minutes to par cook it. So perfect. I'm just gonna strain this. My frika's par cooked, so now we can get started on the assembly of the biryani.
So now that our onions are sweating, we want to add our garlic and then our ginger. And then you want to cook this for about a minute.
Cinnamon. Bay leaves are in. I stir the rice for about a minute. Add in a little bit of salt.
Some more ghee, and then our ginger garlic paste.
Curry powder. Cayenne. Smells like I know what I'm doing.
The garam masala.
Mix it up good. And then we're going to add our
Cumin. Our chili. So I like to let that cook out for a minute.
Now we're going to add
Potatoes. Black peppercorns, because they are smaller, I am putting them in a spice bag. Cloves and cardamom.
And then I'm gonna add my lamb. And we still have the bay leaf from when we cooked the lamb. It's no problem, just leave it in there.
We're going to add our water. This is about 2 cups. And then we're going to add the carrots.
Gonna add a pinch of salt.
Crack some pepper.
So I take half of the rice mixture and put it out. So I have half the rice at the bottom, creating the base layer. Here's another fun ingredient, dried plums. Shrimp goes in. And it's topped with the remaining rice.
This has been cooking for about 10 minutes. The potato skins are now tenderized. Now we're gonna add in our green peas. We're gonna mix them around.
We got these beautiful caramelized onions. We're gonna add half of those.
The remaining stays for garnishing.
And we're gonna add our rice. Oh yeah, that's nice.
And then we can add our potatoes. I'm gonna add my milk and my broth. And then I'm gonna add my freekeh.
Now we're gonna add our yogurt. We're gonna add some more salt.
Sprinkle the saffron to give it a nice streak.
The downside to using freekeh, unlike basmati, is since basmati is white, you can really see the strands of the saffron and the saffron milk. Because I'm using freekeh, it's not gonna have that dynamic, bright color that kind of comes through when you use white basmati rice.
Add in some more curry. Before we put half a teaspoon. So now we put another half a teaspoon. We're gonna mix it up. Another half a teaspoon of cumin and cayenne. Turn this down. The water's down. You don't want to burn your rice.
So I'm making a fairly stiff dough. You'll see what I do with it. Flour, water. Half the joy of cooking is being able to get your hands dirty. This is an old ancient trick if you want it long enough to seal your pot. So I'm adding in the water, 2 parts of water to every 1 cup of basmati rice. So I add in some ghee to this biryani. Spice pack goes in. So now I am creating the seal to my pot, which traps the steam and all the flavors. The biryani is on very low heat, sealed shut. Now I give this about 45 minutes.
I like to check on it really about 25 minutes after, just to make sure that all my liquid has not evaporated and make sure that it's not at a rolling boil. You want those spices and that broth to really just take its time and the freekeh grain to absorb all that good flavor.
So our biryani is done. Now I'm letting it rest for about 10 minutes. While this is happening, this biryani gets a lot of garnishes.
And what I like to do is just fluff it, mix it, right? Because we have onions on the bottom, we have carrots, and we have the lamb. That looks actually pretty good.
If this tastes good, I will bring it home and my girlfriend will try it and she will see how it was supposed to come out. If it doesn't, this never happened.
For the first ingredient in my garnish is the cucumber.
Tomatoes, we'll just add some balance because then you have like the hot rice, then the cold tomato, and it's like, ooh, what's that? Freshness? And you eat that freshness.
Here's the egg. So the second egg, I'm not slicing it. I am trying to cut it halfway through. See my egg flour. Now for the moment of truth, I have to pry this open. That's how tightly it sealed my pot. Look at that, I think it looks great. The last thing that I add to this before I plate and add the garnishes is rose water. This is too subtle a flavor to hold its own if you add it while the biryani is cooking. Add in pistachios, almonds, fried onions.
We finish it with some of our caramelized onions, and then I like to add a touch of fresh cilantro.
This is how you can tell I'm a vegetarian. I try to put all the greens on one plate.
Here is my egg flour. And to serve the biryani, I have raita. This is a yogurt salad. This raita is a pineapple and red onion raita. You cannot have biryani without raita.
And this is my biryani.
Here is my biryani.
My rendition of lamb biryani. Make sure you got a little bit of everything.
So good. This time around, I think my girlfriend would like it just because it's spicy. This time it didn't come out mushy. And I followed the recipe to a T this time. I forgot to peel the potatoes and the carrots. But besides that, nailed it.
This is everything I'm looking for in this biryani.
The difference between mine and, say, a traditional is that I really am getting more of that freekeh flavor, where as you bite it, it kind of pops in your mouth. Different, but still very good.
Biryani is an Indian dish that's layered with flavorful grains and other ingredients and served with a yogurt sauce.
The word biryani comes from the word biryan, which basically means to fry before cooking.
Let's see how each of our 3 chefs made theirs. Stephen and Rinku both used basmati rice. Basmati is an aromatic rice that's traditionally grown in the fertile soil of the Himalayan mountains in India and Pakistan. It's an extra long, slender grain with a slight indentation at the tip. It's slightly sweet, nutty, and floral and has an exquisite aroma. The primary aroma compound, which is released during cooking, is 2-acetyl-1-pyrroline, which is present in most varieties of rice, but up to 10 times higher concentration in basmati. Incidentally, the same compound is found in popcorn. Stephen soaked his basmati rice to remove some of the naturally starchy exterior of the grain.
This seems right.
He used an excess of water for boiling his rice and then drained it. Rice boiled in an excess of water can become mushy and deformed by the force of the water on the rice when it's poured from the pot to the strainer.
Make sure you have the right amount of water.
Rinku used the correct ratio of water to rice so that the maximum amount of water was absorbed to produce the fluffiest rice, which was about 1 1/3 to 1 1/2 cups water to 1 cup basmati rice. Danielle used freekeh, which is a whole grain derived from young wheat that has been roasted and cracked. It's traditionally used in the Middle East and Northern Africa.
This ancient grain, unlike a lot of others, has not been modified. It's a grain that is pretty pure to what they were eating thousands of years ago.
It has a roasted and slight smoky aroma and flavor from the development of pyrazine molecules during roasting. It's more nutrient-dense than most rice varieties with higher protein and fiber, so induces a slower glycemic response or blood sugar spike than rice. It's slightly chewy and dense compared to the basmati rice that our level 1 and 2 chefs used. The typical cooking ratio is 2 to 2 1/2 cups of water to 1 cup freekeh. Stephen didn't peel his carrots or potatoes, which is fine since both are thin. However, sometimes potato peels can contain solanine, which is concentrated in bright green spots. Solanine is a potent neurotoxin, so be sure to check your potatoes and remove any green spots that you find.
If I had to do it over again, I would have peeled the carrots and I would have peeled the potatoes.
Rinku added high-fat sour cream and blended all these ingredients together to make a paste and marinated her shrimp in it for several hours. The longer the marinade time, the better the penetration. But be careful. If you leave a protein too long in an acidic marinade, you may get a mushy texture due to the proteolysis of the proteins that come in contact with the acid. She marinated her shrimp for 2 hours, which gave a perfect result. Danielle marinated her lamb meat in a ginger yogurt sauce. Yogurt has a low pH value because lactic acid bacteria ferment lactose, a sugar in milk, and convert it to lactic acid. As the pH drops, the milk proteins become destabilized and combine with other constituents in the milk that has the effect of becoming thick. The acid is an excellent marinade for the tougher cuts of lamb that she used in her biryani. Rinku toasted her rice in ghee, which adds a nutty flavor profile to her biryani. This toasting or dextrinization shortens the starch molecules and makes the rice less likely to stick together.
A lot of the cloudiness is the loose starch in the water.
Danielle sauteed her seasoned lamb to brown it and develop toasted and roasted flavor notes from the Maillard reaction. She then braised it in water with rose water and cura, or screw pine water. Screw pine is a type of shrub with long, palm-like, straight, aromatic leaves. It adds floral flavor to Danielle's biryani. Its main flavor compound is the same found in basmati rice, 2-acetyl-1-pyrroline. We call it acetylpyrroline. The flavor compounds are extracted during a steeping process in water.
These are traditional flavors that you will find in more of a traditional biryani.
Next time you're in the mood for a layered dish that's full of flavor and so satisfying, we hope you'll take some of these tips from our 3 insightful chefs.
And they said I couldn't do it. I don't know who said it, but I know someone said it.